If you're moving to the GTA and trying to choose between Toronto, Mississauga, and Vaughan, getting this wrong doesn't just cost you money, it costs you years of your daily life. Today, I'm taking you through all three cities on the map across three different categories so you know exactly which one fits your life before you commit. My name's Jordan Abrams, 9 years helping people move to the GTA. All my info's down below. Let's get into it. Toronto. The city of Toronto makes up a really wide area. So when we're comparing these three, Toronto, Mississauga, and Vaughan, for Toronto, I think I'll focus on it being this kind of centralized area here in the middle. The average detached home price in Toronto right now is sitting at just around $1.37 million. So this is a street not that far from us. You can see nice tree-lined street. There are older homes in this neighborhood, just like a lot of different neighborhoods of Toronto. A lot of houses that are 100+ years old. I would say a house like this. And the average semi-detached price, if we look on the same street, a lot of them have semis and detached on the same street, is just over $1 million at the moment in May of 2026. And again, that'll be an older home. You're lucky if you get a parking space like we see here, but some of them don't even have parking spaces. On this street, it looks pretty good. One thing to note about Toronto is, worst case, if your home doesn't have a parking space, a lot of times you can get street parking as a permit, and a lot of these cars here probably have street parking permit in their little windows there. And that lets you park overnight. You can get 1-year permits, you can get 6-month permits, so that is a pretty good alternative. The cost for a yearly permit in Toronto is just over $200, so a lot more affordable than some of the rental prices if you're trying to rent a parking spot on a monthly basis. The average condo sale price right now in the city of Toronto is just around $650,000. So, you know, that's for a pretty decent condo. The entry point, though, is actually lower than it's ever been right now in 2026 in the summer. Well, spring, I guess we're at the end of spring going into the summer. And you can actually get 1-bedroom condos in the city for just around $400,000 as the starting point. Now, when we talk about home prices, that was kind of the Toronto average. When we look more at these downtown homes, this is right downtown here, we're looking at over $2 million if you want a detached home in this area. So it definitely goes up quite a bit if you're closer to downtown Toronto. One other thing to consider if you're buying in Toronto is you have a double land transfer tax. So you don't just pay one land transfer tax in Toronto, you actually pay two. Whereas in the rest of this video, when we talk about Mississauga and Vaughan, you're only going to be paying one land transfer tax. Here's an example of some more detached homes in downtown. Not a ton of space, houses very close together. Pretty rare to see a garage. Some of these houses have garages, but definitely you can expect to be paying a premium to be this close to the city. And if we're talking about transit, if we start kind of around Bloor and Yonge here, which is the center of Toronto, we can see the two subway lines. We have line 1, which is the yellow line that runs all the way north and south throughout the city. There's East Line 1 over here on Yonge. And then there's the West Line 1 that runs all the way up to Vaughan. So we'll talk about that with Vaughan as well. But this is called the U line, and you can see it makes a U all the way throughout the city, and it kind of spreads further apart as it gets more north. On the east side, line 1 ends at Yonge and Finch, and on the west side, it ends at Vaughan Metro Centre, going past York University, going past Downsview. And then line 2 is this green line here, which takes you all the way east and west throughout the city, throughout the core. So this goes all the way east to Scarborough, Kennedy Station. And then on the west side, it goes all the way to Kipling Station, which is right in Etobicoke. And this is not so far from Pearson Airport, which is right over here. Also starting in 2026, just across Eglinton here, we have the Eglinton Crosstown LRT, which is a light rail transit system that goes all the way east and west across Eglinton. So previously, if you wanted to get east and west throughout the city and have a reliable form of transit, you were taking this green subway line, line 2, But now a bit more north, right around Midtown, Yonge and Eglinton's Midtown, you have this light rail transit that just opened after 20 years of construction, and it's finally operational. So that's a big plus for the Midtown area and just for Toronto in general. Now, if we shift our focus back to downtown Toronto for a second, I just want to show you something, which is all these yellow areas you can see. This is the path system. See here it says the path. And this is an underground tunnel system that has shops and restaurants and different things that lets you get all throughout downtown Toronto. It's over 30 kilometers and over 200,000 people use it every single day. Especially in the winter, it's really useful when you're trying to avoid going outside in January or February when it's like minus 20, minus 30 degrees out. So one of the most central areas downtown is Union Station. You can see all these different subway lines and transit lines running to it. So line 1 goes directly to Union, comes down, and that's where the U meets from the east or west side. And then you also have the Up Express, which is the blue line here, goes all the way from Union. You can follow it straight to Pearson Airport here. And then the green line on the map here is the GO train. And GO trains run all throughout the province. So Union Station is super well connected to almost anywhere in the city. So that was transit. Now, if we're talking about lifestyle, let's look at King Street here. So this is right in the downtown core. You can see lots of skyscrapers. This is the financial district. And this is connected to that path system I was just talking about. So down here in Toronto is very busy. There's always something happening. Lots of these tall skyscraper office buildings. Now, if we want to talk about lifestyle, one of my favorite areas in the whole city is Queen Street West. So I used to live right around here with my wife. Let's see if we can find our bill. So we used to go to this Indian restaurant all the time, Little India, really good. But there's just tons of restaurants here, lots of shopping, live music venues, and it's just a really great area that's very well connected. This is actually our old condo building that we used to live right on Simcoe Street. If you go a little bit east, you'll get right to the Eden Center on Queen Street. So just always something happening in downtown Toronto. This area of the city is called Canada Landing, and this is right by the CN Tower, all the way up there. It's huge. So you can get tickets to go up the CN Tower. We did that not too long ago with our nephews and niece. You have Ripley's Aquarium, a really great aquarium, all different types of fishes and some cool sharks in there as well. It's a pretty neat way to spend a day. And if we come just around to the right here, so this is actually Steam Whistle Brewing now. It's also an old outdoor train museum. So some of these really old school steam train engines and original train tracks all throughout the area here. And this building is Steam Whistle Brewing. And then you have the Rogers Centre, which is where the Toronto Blue Jays play. They're a baseball team. Went to the World Series last year. Unfortunately lost in 7 games. Pretty heartbreaking. But hopefully this year. So yeah, this is a really nice area. Very cool area of the city to be in. Right downtown. If you picture Toronto, this is probably the area that you're picturing or that you get shown most often. There's always construction going on downtown, so I could really pick any of these street views and we would see construction. But you have world-class restaurants all over the city, some of the best dining, super multicultural city, so you can try some of the best versions of any type of cuisine, really. This is Roy Thompson Hall, and you might recognize it because it's actually been used in a ton of different TV shows over the years because it has a very unique shape to it. So I think it was the headquarters of the Boys, of the superheroes and the Boys of the Seven. And it's been in a ton of different movies and shows over the years just because it's a very cool looking glass building. This is a nice bar, Elephant and Castle. There's just so many different bars and restaurants, and this is a theater, Come From Away, really good Broadway show. We saw that a couple times. My wife's a huge Broadway nerd. And if you want something a bit more nature focused to do, this is Toronto Island. So a ton of ships over here. People actually live on the island. There's a lottery that happens every couple years where homes come up for sale and you have to enter into a lottery to be even eligible to buy those homes because it's so desirable. And they also offer them at pretty affordable prices as far as Toronto is concerned. But you can just take a ferry or even a water taxi right from downtown and get to Toronto Island. And it's a really great way to spend the day. There's a beach, you can ride the bike all around. This is where the ferry drops you off, which is why there's so many people here. And then you can see the Toronto skyline in the distance. So pretty cool. I don't think a ton of people outside of Toronto know about the island. You can see where this is on the map. You have downtown. We're just at Ripley's Aquarium here, right by the CN Tower. And then just over here is Toronto Island. Before we get into Mississauga, if you're trying to figure out which of these cities actually fits your budget and your situation, that's the exact conversation I have with buyers every single week. If you're moving to the GTA or comparing Toronto neighborhoods, book a free relocation strategy call with me. Link is down below. I personally get back to everyone. Mississauga. So just a little bit west of Toronto where we just were. If you follow me on the map here, past Etobicoke, we get to Mississauga, which has been developing a ton over the last 10 or 15 years. It's been getting super populated and very built up. Not a lot of extra space there to build. I'll show you what a typical Mississauga street looks like. So this is what a typical Mississauga street looks like. It's wider, you have the larger lots, a lot of two-car garages, and the average detached price in Mississauga right now is just around 1.3 million. So close to that Toronto average. You do get a lot more space and a lot more square footage for your dollar here. So, you know, some of these homes are easily over 2,300 square feet with two-car garages. In Toronto, these comparable houses, if they're close to downtown, would be, you know, probably over 3 million, closer to $4 million. Whereas in Mississauga here, you could get them for probably just around 1.2 to 1.3 million. Now, if we're talking about semi-detached homes like we see here, the going price right now is actually closer to about $920,000. So you get a garage, you get a driveway, these wider roads, quieter neighborhoods for under $1 million, which is pretty good value considering what prices used to be like in Mississauga. Prices have come down quite a lot from the peak of 2022. There's lots of green space and parks, so it's become a really great family-friendly area, and it's really developed quite a lot over the years. The average condo price in 2026 is just around $500,000 in Mississauga. And again, you can get into the condos for less than that. The entry point is around that same point of Toronto, of around $400,000. That was just the average price. But you definitely get more space, more square footage for the same amount of money in Mississauga than you would get in Toronto. And just while we're on the subject of purchasing a condo, if you're purchasing a property in Mississauga, just like I was speaking about in the Toronto section, you only pay one land transfer tax. So there's not that double land transfer tax you pay in Toronto. This is near Square One, so that's why this is such a busy area. So many condos have popped up in this area. These are perhaps the most iconic condos in Mississauga, the Absolute Avenue condos here, the two towers. And these are designed to look like Marilyn Monroe's figure. So they're very noticeable in the skyline, kind of cool structure to them. So you'll definitely see them if you're driving towards Mississauga. They stick out. Now, if we're talking about transit in Mississauga, there's actually no subway here, which is a bit rough, but you do have lots of GO stations to get you around the province and into Toronto pretty quickly. For example, there's the Long Branch GO station over here, and you have this red GO line running all the way into Toronto. You have Port Credit GO. So the GO trains are very convenient, they're very quick, but there's no subway. So you kind of need a car here, to be honest. The Port Credit GO station might be one of your best options. First of all, Port Credit is like a gorgeous area right by the water, and this will get you to downtown Toronto in about 25 to 35 minutes. One note as well, there was an LRT planned, or there is an LRT planned, the Hazel-McCallion LRT, which is going to help the Mississauga transit situation quite a bit, but that's actually been delayed now, and we're looking at the earliest completion date of 2028 to 2029, and you know, the experience with the LRT, where it took over 20 years to complete, I would say those completion dates are very tentative at this point, and a lot of people are skeptical of when it will actually be completed and running. So overall, Mississauga is very car dependent. This is the QEW, Queen Elizabeth Way, that runs east and west through downtown. So it goes from Mississauga all the way to Toronto, and then it turns into the DVP, which turns into the 404 when we get a bit more north, just past the 401. 401 is the highway that runs east and west all throughout the province. So this goes from Toronto west to Mississauga to Hamilton. So you definitely need a car in Mississauga, but you do have a bunch of highways very close to you. You have the 407, which is a toll road, which gets pretty expensive, about 15 to 20 rides per trip that you take. So it definitely adds up. It can be a couple $100s a month if you're taking it often. Traffic can be pretty bad if you're going on the 401 into Toronto or Mississauga and there's traffic. It can easily be an hour. My wife's office was in Mississauga before, so it used to take her an hour or longer to get to and from work every day. Now, if we're talking about lifestyle, I'll talk about Port Credit again because I think that's my favorite area in all of Mississauga. It's just this really cool area with lots of different individual shops and storefronts. You're also right by the water. It has its own downtown area. So it just feels a lot more quaint than the rest of Mississauga. It's also a lot more walkable. You have the MeWay buses running all throughout, the orange buses here. So if you're in Port Credit, you're definitely going to get that local neighborhood vibe that you get in some Toronto areas. I would say even some of it's nicer than Toronto because it's not as busy, but Port Credit does come with a big price tag attached to it, like a lot of areas where you can walk around to these really nice, cute restaurants and different local historic places. And just to show you where Port Credit is, so here's kind of Mississauga on the map, and if we just go south, that's Port Credit. So it really is right by the water here. This is a park in Port Credit, so here's the water. A lot of green space. I don't think people realize coming from Toronto, you do get a lot more green space, bigger parks, a lot of times better maintained parks in Mississauga than you do get in Toronto. Toronto can be a bit lacking in that department. There's the waterfront trail here, really nice restaurant. My mom loves this restaurant, Snug Harbor. So Port Credit is just beautiful. Like I would definitely recommend it if you can afford the price tag. Now, if we're talking about the downtown, that would definitely be Square One or Celebration Square. We looked at this a bit earlier with the condos, but this is a very happening area. Tons of new condos have been popping up over the last 5 to 10 years or so. Lots of really great restaurants, really good Indian food for sure in this area. And it's become really happening. So this is like the downtown area of Mississauga. And Square One is a huge mall where you can get pretty much anything you need as well. This is what the Square One Mall looks like. Again, those are the Marilyn Monroe towers in the distance. Very distinctive shape, huge parking lot. It's just a really, really big mall. There's a bunch of office buildings here as well. So this is definitely the downtown-ish area of Mississauga. The Bay, unfortunately, closed down. I think the first company in all of Canada was Hudson's Bay. It was originally the Hudson's Bay Fur Trading Company back in, I think, like the 1860s, and it went out of business just this past year, actually, which is pretty unfortunate. 2 cities down, now Vaughan. And this one surprises people the most. It's the most understood city in the GTA, and for the right buyer, it might actually be the best move of the 3. Vaughan. So if we're orienting ourselves on the map again, Toronto is over here, Mississauga is just to the west, and then if we go a bit northeast of there, we'll get to Vaughan. So you have the 400 running all throughout Vaughan, which is really nice. Makes it convenient. So even more space, I would say, and greenery than Mississauga. Look at how wide this road is here. These nice tree-lined streets. Huge houses. Like, look at the size of some of these houses. It's hard to see sometimes because the trees are in the way, but you know, these are over 3,000 square feet easily. Everything has a 2-car garage. And the average detached home price in Vaughan is actually just around 1.3 million at the moment. So depending on the neighborhood, but look at the size of these houses that you can get for that price. These huge driveways can fit probably 4 cars here, plus 2 more in the garage. Just gorgeous houses, really nice family-friendly streets. You have lots of parks nearby and greenery, and you can just get into this area for such a lower price than comparable homes would be in Toronto. If you wanted a house like this in Toronto, in the core, this is like a $5 million house. You know, this is no joke. These are big houses here in Vaughan. We're talking about semi-detached homes. The average price for those is just around 950,000 to $1 million. So closer again to that Mississauga mark. But like I was just saying, you get way bigger places for that same price. These are mostly detached we're looking at here. Like, look, this has a 3-car garage. Wow, just awesome. The average condo price in Vaughan right now is sitting around 515,000. So you can definitely get into a newer condo in this area for a pretty good price. This is Rutherford Road, one of the main roads that runs throughout Vaughan. And this is a pretty busy area. We're close to the 400 here. But a lot of new buildings popping up. The yellow line. And again, on this northernmost point of the yellow line, we have the Vaughan Metro Center. So this is a subway station. So unlike Mississauga, you actually do have subway access directly from Vaughan into downtown Toronto. And that's in about 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how bad delays are that specific day. TTC delays can vary quite a lot. Now you will see that the yellow line one stops right at the Vaughan Metro Center, and there's still a lot of Vaughan left. So to be honest, kind of like Mississauga, a lot of Vaughan, you do need a car to get around in. The 400's one of the busiest highways in the city. To show you what that looks like, this is where you would, you know, take to get to the cottage country. We went camping last weekend to Algonquin. So anywhere where you're trying to get outside the city, if you're trying to get to Barrie, the 400 is usually the best way to do that. You have a lot of lanes, it's a wide highway, and in my opinion, it's a lot less cramped and congested than the 404 on the east side of the city. You can see Vaughan Mills in the distance here. We'll talk about that in a little bit with lifestyle coming up. And just like with Mississauga, you do have the 407 running through Vaughan. So that's an east and west highway. It kind of snakes a little bit north and south as well. But again, that's a toll road. It is super convenient, but you're paying money every time you go on it. You have a bunch of highways, so you have the 400, the 427. So Vaughan is definitely very convenient for driving. And then if we look at where the center of Vaughan is here, just by the 400, just a little bit east, we have the Rutherford GO station. So this will take you, again, right down to Union Station, north of the city, south. So always nice having GO access in the city. It makes a big difference. The reality, though, is if you're driving to downtown Toronto from Vaughan, if you're not taking the subway or the GO train, you're looking at a commute of easily 60 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on traffic. I will say that one of my best friends lives in Vaughan, and to get to us in Midtown, if it's off hours for traffic, can only take maybe about 20-25 minutes. But if you run into any traffic, that commute can easily get to well over an hour. So talking about lifestyle now, this is Vaughan Mills. It's a huge shopping mall right near the downtown of Vaughan. So you have all different shops. Look how gigantic this parking lot is. I actually had clients that bought a condo here, and they specifically wanted to be right by Vaughan Mills just so they could, they're retired and they could walk over and have something to do. There's always something going on. It's a huge mall, and there are all these new condo buildings being built right beside it, which is very convenient. And then speaking of other things to do, this is one of my favorite places to go. This is Canada's Wonderland. So you have some of the best roller coasters in North America, in my opinion. The States obviously has a bunch of really great roller coasters as well. I need to get to more parks in the US, but Canada's Wonderland is pretty awesome. So just a really awesome theme park to go to. You have Drop Zone. This will take you all the way to the top and then instantly drop without warning. So this is actually my favorite ride. It's called Leviathan, and it just has this straight ascent. It goes up about 300 feet right into the air. Pretty wild. And then it has a more than 90-degree incline drop on the way down. Pretty awesome. There, you can see it here. So this is Kleinburg, which is kind of like Port Credit in Mississauga. It's an exclusive area that's very walkable in Vaughan. But just like Port Credit, it does come with a pretty hefty price tag when you think about what the rest of Vaughan gets you. But kind of small town vibe where you can walk around to a bunch of different locally owned shops and restaurants, different art stores and boutiques. Just a really safe, family-friendly area in Vaughan if you want a bit more of that community and walkable vibe. And then this is Woodbridge, another nice area in Vaughan. This is if you want that nice, more walkable, more connected feel, more community feel. It's a very Italian area. They have an Italian food festival here every year, but you don't have those Kleinburg prices or those huge mansions in Kleinburg. This is also a really great family-friendly option. And then you're getting close to that detached price of 1.2, 1.3, rather than getting up into those multi-million-dollar homes that we were just looking at. 3 cities covered, and now the verdict. And if any of this has been landing for you, book a free relocation strategy call with me. Link is down below. I personally get back to everyone. Okay, the verdict. Choose Toronto if you work downtown or near a subway line, value walkability, want the full city experience, and can stomach the price. Best long-term investment in the GTA. Choose Mississauga if you're a family on a budget under $1 million, work near a GO station or remotely, and want space without fully leaving the GTA. Best schools to price ratio in the GTA right now. And finally, choose Vaughan if you want the most space for your money, have kids, work in the Northwest GTA corridor or near Vaughan Metro Center, and the suburban lifestyle works for who you are. The Vaughan Metro Center corridor is the best medium-term investment story in York Region right now. Most people watching this already know which city fits their lifestyle. The question is whether your budget actually matches the city that you want to live in. 3 cities, 3 completely different ways to live in the GTA. The right answer depends on where you work, what your family needs, and what you actually want your daily life to look like. And if you're moving to the GTA or comparing these cities for your family, book a free relocation strategy call with me. I've been helping people get this right for 9 years, and I personally get back to everyone. Link is down below in the video description. Hit the thumbs up if this video was helpful and subscribe. New Toronto real estate videos every Tuesday and Friday. I'm Jordan Abrams. I'll see you around town.